Hi everyone. My 5P for on time management. So I've been a lecturer over 20 years and worked before in the industry, and looking back with time management, it's just immense for students, for academics, for people who work in the industry. What is time management? Why do we have to manage the time? Can we manage the time? That's those questions are valid. And when you look at it, so can we actually manage time? I would say no, we can't manage time these days, unless you have your own freedom in terms of how you can dictate the day. So if you can't dictate the day, for example, if you're commuting, uh, you have to be at work at 9 and you're commuting 2 hours. You're using train or another public transport. Maybe you're changing three different public transports and then coming back home again 2 hours. So you're spending 4 hours commute. And it depends on many things. So there are so many complexities. If you're a student, you might have more time to dictate. If you're a shop owner, you have more say on your time. So it depends where you are at with your life in terms of time management. So what you can do is, what are the areas that I can control? What are the areas that I can't control? And you need to make that distinction between those two. So what do I mean by that? So the areas that I can control, I can't control that I'm commuting, because maybe I have already a place and I can't sell it, or I'm renting it, I can't go out of my lease. So, and I have to commute to the job that I have. And that I can't change. So what can I change? So if I'm taking a train and that public transport lasts for an hour, maybe if it's not overcrowded, I can work on something. If it's overcrowded, I can listen to an ebook in my area, or I can listen to a blog or a podcast. So there are, or I can try to read a newspaper article that I wanted that I printed out, or an article that I printed out and put some earphones so I don't hear what's going on in the surroundings. Or if it's really early and I need a nap and I have kids, then that's another discussion. So what you're doing is, what can I control and what can't I control? So those are the limitations that we will have in terms of time management. So for example, if within your job, if you have freedom to control what you can do in specific time frames, that's great. But let's say I was a lecturer, so I can't control when I'm teaching. We have an open door policy, so people are coming in and out. I can't control when people will come and out. So then I can't control my office environment. Maybe one way of doing it, that is taking a piece of paper, research paper that I want to read, and going for a coffee shop next door, just reading it as much as you can. And or doing your administrative work when, for example, uh, less people are around. So maybe after, if you can stay a bit later, pushing it towards that. So it's just moving off your block of times as much as you can. And it depends on whether you have external stimuli that is impacting your planning as well. So what is in my control, what is not in my control? For example, checking my emails. So if I can give it, if I will say I check the emails 2 times, if I can do that. So I say I will check it at 10 o'clock and at 2 o'clock. Yeah. So I would know which So I would leave that part, so won't be impacted on that. So I do know when I will check that. If there's a call, somebody's chasing after me, somebody's chasing after work, then I would amend that. So what you can see here is it's not time management, it's control of my environment, control of what can I do. If I'm a mom, then I need to my environment that I can control is dependent upon kids, yeah, and their diary as well. So what you need to define is, are there any time frames that are under my control? And what are the time frames that are not under my control? And what you could do is basically assign these things, for example, any job related, any administrative task, any kids related task, any mom related task, whatever it is, how you define it. If it's not under your control, meaning you don't have the opportunity window to change, to adjust it, so that means you would try to do those things within those time frames. You can multitask, trying to do a few things there and then. Those are the things that you can do easily and you can push it in. So, for example, 10 minutes call, 15-minute check on an account, or a quick stroll to the bank and coming back. So those are things you can do, but there will be, if you're really busy, there will be times where you can control, and those times need to be directed to your goals, long-term goals, strategic goals, and you can, even if you do the slightest work on them, so this will give you an edge. Even if you prepare the paperwork for something that you're intending to do, a business that you wanted to open, or even if you wanted to collect potential client addresses. So things that you can do on the time that is under control, and things that you can't do under time that are not in your control. So what I'm suggesting is, people that are exceptional, they are great. When they are at work, they do work. When they are at home, they are at home. And if they don't have time that are not under control, they make additional time to put things under control as much as they can do. That's a lot of effort. There's always a balance of what you need and what you can do and what you're ready to do. So if it doesn't mean if you're overloaded, you should do X, Y, Z on top of it. If you can do bits and pieces, that's great achievement in itself already. But if you feel like you can do work and you have some time where it's under your control what you can manage, so then I would say just go for it. So sometimes there are right times for doing things, and there are wrong times for doing things as well. So, and which one would be more successful, that no one can say. So what I would suggest is, there is not one route for all of us, and it's not the same route for all of us. I had exceptional colleagues who have done so good, so brave moves, so I couldn't believe it. And they have, but they pay the fees for it. So they have done exceptional work, they have done exceptional, built up exceptional businesses, but they have done a lot of planning around it, and they made sure they spent a lot of energy, efforts on it. And when I look to myself and I would say, would that be a right action for me? Not at that time, not at that moment of time, and not at that place. So what works for someone might not work for you, but it's great to see and understand the context and thinking they have. So if you see somebody who's exceptional, arrange a cup of coffee with them and say, can I pick your brains? So I had a colleague and they were just, and she and her husband were doing so many publications, so many funding applications. I couldn't believe, because they had kids, they had really jobs that has been really, difficult to manage, and they were just excelling in every area, and I couldn't believe it how they do that. So when we sat down, and she said, well, when the kids sleep, when we have settled everything down, from 9 to 2, we do work. We both separately work on our plans. That's great. That's what they want to do. Would I be able to do that in my time? No. Would I want to do that? No. But now, after so many years, would I consider doing it? Yes. So sometimes what fits in your life might be not right for you, but what fits in your life later on might be okay. So time management needs to be flexible on this ecosystem that you're in. So, and there isn't a magic bullet. So you have to dive into your workload, divide what is under your control, what is not under your control, and then maybe think about, is this enough time under my control? Can I expand it? Where can I expand it? What can I do? Yeah. And I will give you some examples of it as we go on further down the line. Just bear with me. And I'll see you later. Take care. Bye.